Most agencies aren't failing because their setters are bad. They're failing because their CRM is a graveyard where leads go to die. You have leads slipping through the cracks, no track KPIs, and your setters are manually dialing numbers like it's the early 2000s. Today, we are fixing all of that, and I'm going to do a call center ops speedrun. And there it is. In less than 40 minutes, I'm going to walk you through the exact backend setup of a 7-figure appointment setting department inside of GoHighLevel. We aren't just setting up some basic automations. We are building the pipeline architecture, the power dialer integration, and the lead nurture automations that we use to consistently get 50% plus booking rate on our leads. By the end of this video, you won't just have a CRM, you'll have a new weapon in your agency arsenal, which will blow your competition out of the water. And to make this as easy as possible, I've packaged this entire setup into a snapshot link that I'll give to you at the end. So open up your GoHighLevel account and let's build. So I'm going to show you the full build inside of our snapshot account. So you'll see like test data in here, but there won't be any real data in case you're wondering. So the biggest mistake most agencies make when they are building out these kind of systems is that the first thing is they use the opportunity stages as a way for their setters to know who to call. The problem with that is there's so much manual input here, right? There's so much inefficiencies in terms of calling leads. So what I mean by this, for example, is that you might have leads coming through, right? They all end up in day 1 AM because you want to phone them, obviously, the first day in the AM, right? Whatever it is. So then what the setters will do is they'll see this, they'll click into this lead, they'll phone the lead, they'll double dial them, hopefully, as long as your setters are double dialing, they should be, right? And then they'll come back out of this and they'll have to go back to opportunities. And then from here, they'll drag it to like day 1 PM, right? And then the next day they'll do the same thing, right? That obviously takes a lot of time. The opportunity stages here are not for your setters to like drag people across and like manually do this. What it's for is like a guideline, right? So what I'm going to show you is inside the automations, we can have it so every time the phone calls are made, it will automatically move the lead from day 1 AM to day 1 PM. And then obviously when you phone them the second time on day 1 PM, they'll then move automatically to day 2 AM, right? So all of these stages here, they're supposed to be used as a guidelines because when this is running automatically, you can then go into your client's account and you can just get a really good bird's eye overview of where the lead's at. If there's any problems, any issues going on, any automation bugs, whatever, you can see it all in here. Because if you see a bunch of people, for example, stacked on day 1 AM, you either know your setters aren't calling or there's an automation break, right? Typically, it's going to be the setters aren't calling, and then you can find the problem and you can fix it, right? So don't use the pipeline stages as an actual system for managing the leads. Use it as more of a guideline for yourself to be able to see what's going on with the leads. And so with the actual pipeline stages, what pipeline stages do we have? So we have something called callback request booked, right? This is for when we phone up a lead and they say, hey, I can't speak right now, I'm with my kids, or I can't speak right now, I'm at work, or whatever it is. And we need to be able to actually book a callback request. So we'll say to them, okay, great. Well, like, is tomorrow a good time to speak? They'll be like, yeah, but okay, I'll give you a call around 6. How does that work? Yeah, sounds good. Okay, great, cool. And then you book them in for a callback request. I'll go through that calendar system in a second. But essentially, we have a separate calendar system that tracks that. We book in the callback request, and the lead will then appear in here. Again, this isn't used for your setters to know who to call back. We do not use it for that. But for you as the agency owner, you can then see, oh, how many people have we got in the callback request book stage? You know roughly how many people are actually in the pipeline to be called back at some point. Then from here, we have day 1 AM, day 1 PM. Honestly, you can rename these. You can have either day 1 AM, day 1 PM, or you can have like day 1, call 1, day 1, call 2. Because if someone comes through your funnel at, let's say, 2 PM on a Monday, right? Then they'll be in day 1 AM follow-up. And that might be confusing for some people because they'll think, well, it's not the AM, it's the PM. So why are they not in the day 1 PM, right? Well, this is purely just to know how many times you want to be phoning them. We always use the cadence of phoning twice a day, every day, for 7 days in a row. That's what we found works best. And so you can rename this to be day 1, call 1, for example, because obviously if they land on day 1, call 1, and it's their PM, that just means it's the first call. So essentially the AM follow-up, all that means is it's the first time you're calling them. I just did AM and PM just to kind of make it a bit easier for me to understand. So when the lead first is generated, they're going to this day 1 AM follow-up, right? Obviously you double dial them, you try and call them, whatever it is. They then automatically move to day 1 PM, right? And as I go through this whole system, you'll see we've got day 2 AM, day 2 PM, day 3 AM, day 3 PM. And we've got the whole system all the way up to here. And then we've got day 7 PM follow-up at the very end, right? So again, you can customize this as much as you want. If you want to phone maybe multiple times within 3 days, or you want to phone for 15 days or 30 days or whatever it is, you can customize all of this, right? It's very simple. Most of you probably already know this, but just go to pipelines. You can then click on the call center pipeline here, and you can adjust the stages as you wish here. I like to keep things as simple as possible. So when we have a no-show, we literally just re-add them back to day 1 AM follow-up here. You can have a whole separate pipeline for this, right? So you could go to pipelines, you could create a new pipeline, and you could have a no-show pipeline or a cancelled call pipeline, right? You can mimic the same pipeline, call it no-show, have the same thing again, and you can literally just have day 1 AM, day 1 PM, all that kind of stuff. And you can literally see where all your no-shows and your cancelled calls, where they are in the rescheduling process. However, for us, I like to keep things really, really simple. I'm not too bothered about tracking the no-shows on the actual pipeline stages. Again, this is more of a guide. I actually have a full reporting system in Google Sheets and in Google Data Studio, which tells me about my no-shows and everything like that. So I don't really need the actual guide of the no-shows. What we do is we re-add them back to day 1 AM follow-up, right? So I've got a whole automation here. If I just type in no-show here, Again, this is all inside the snapshot, which you can get for free down below. If I click on this, if the lead is a no-show, essentially what we're doing is if the lead is marked as a no-show, right? So if the appointment status is marked as a no-show, or my sales team or whoever, your client, if they move them to no-show, right, under the client pipeline, then that will re-add the day 1 a.m. tag. It will add them back to the power dialer, and then it will got this opportunity here, which is re-add to day 1 a.m. Puts them back into day 1 a.m. stage, and again, we just throw them all into the mix. If you really want to get fancy with it, you can also add a tag like a no-show tag, for example. So then all the no-shows, all the cancel calls get re-added back to day 1 a.m. follow-up, and then we just start the whole process again, phoning them twice a day, every day for 7 days in a row. When you're making calls within GoHighLevel, when you're using the power dialer, it will appear each contacts as you're making calls inside the power dialer. What will happen is it will actually open up the contact page as it's dialing through the power dialer. So then what your team will want to do is when they're phoning up the no-shows, right, they can see very quickly here where if it's a no-show, because they'll be able to see the no-show messages going out. They'll be able to also, if I click on the appointment here, they'll be able to see the actual status. So if they see it says no-show here, then that also tells them it's a no-show. So while the phone's ringing, they can have a quick look at the lead, make sure there's nothing weird going on, and they can see, oh, this is a no-show. So obviously the script will be slightly different. They don't want to be going through the same qualifying questions and all that kind of stuff. Your setters just have to be a little bit more switched on, just make sure they're not just repeating the same stuff over and over to each new lead. You want to make sure that when it's a no-show, they're actually starting the script with, hey, I saw you couldn't turn up to your appointment on blah, blah, blah. All the information's in here. So there's no excuse for the setter to not be able to quickly navigate this and be able to find what the reason was they didn't show. So there's no excuse for your setters not to be able to navigate all this and see the information they need to be able to actually have that decent conversation and hopefully rebook that lead in. So now what's the actual calling process for when a lead is first generated to then them going into the power dialer? Well, before we add them into the power dialer, we want to make sure speed to lead is locked in, right? So what we don't want to happen is that a new lead is created and they just get added to the power dialer. So if they just get added to the power dialer, because then whenever your team get round to actually using the power dialer, that speed to lead time could be hours, right? Let's say your team phoned the power dialer 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. for one client, right? Well, if a lead comes through at 1 p.m., right? Well, then you've got 5 hours before that lead's actually going to get phoned up, which obviously isn't okay. We need our speed to lead to be within 60 seconds every single time. That's how we get the best booking rates. And that's really the biggest needle mover to getting a higher booking rate and getting that 50% plus booking rate, which we see consistently in our accounts. So how do we ensure that speed to lead is within 60 seconds every single time? So we have something here called CCM alert workflows. So with the alert workflows, we actually have a separate Slack channel just for these notifications, right? So new leads, appointment confirmations, callbacks, missed call callbacks, SMS alerts, right? These don't go into the power dialer straight away. These go to the special Slack channel. That Slack channel is called, we call it the watch shift, right? It's essentially someone is literally sitting there on Slack on this one channel and they're just sitting there waiting for these alerts to come through. So let me quickly show you what that looks like. So this is the watch shift, right? So what we have here is new lead, call immediately. We have, please see the details of the new lead below. It's got the name of the account. It's got the name of the lead. It's got the phone number. It's also got a direct link to contact. This works really well. So rather than your setting team have to like go into GoHighLevel, try and find the account, then try and find the lead by searching for them, whatever. We've literally got a direct link to contact. As long as they're logged into the GoHighLevel account, which they should be, all they've got to do is click on this link and then bam, it's going to take them straight to that contact and they can literally call them within there, right? So the rules around this is when that lead is first created, we then have the setters. So when that notification comes in, I've got a setting team that are on 24/7 standby, right? If you haven't got 24/7 teams, it's fine. Just whenever they're working, 8 till 8, 9 till 5, whatever it is, right? What they've got to do is as soon as that lead comes in, they need to essentially claim that lead because there are multiple setters working on my watch shift, right? And there should be multiple setters on yours as well, depending on the size of your agency and how many clients, how many leads are coming in, right? So we've got the appointment setter here. They're going to put a number that essentially claims it. That stops the leads from being called by multiple setters because they're all fighting for the same leads. Then you want to make sure that whoever puts that first number in, right, they're the ones that get the lead and no one else touches it. Otherwise you get this duplicate phone calls and it kind of gets really, really messy. So from here, they put that, and then what they do is after the call's actually been made, they'll put what happened to that call, right? So here it says invalid destination, call failed, try twice, right? The really cool thing about this is that we actually get multiple timestamps. So we get the timestamp up here of when the lead was generated. We then get the timestamp of when the setter saw the lead, right? So we can see literally at the same time they saw the lead, right? Then we've got after the phone call was made. So I can see 8:40 here. That tells me that the phone call was finished at 8:40 and they actually had time to write it in. So I can see very quickly that this lead was phoned within 60 seconds, which is great, okay? The rule we have is that for any reason, a lead takes longer than 5 minutes to be phoned, right? And there are plenty of reasons why that could happen. It's not necessarily your setters being lazy. It could be the fact they've got a lot of leads coming through. Maybe they're already on the phone. Maybe they're doing something else, which is to do with the lead, whatever it is, right? There's lots of reasons why a lead can take longer than 5 minutes. But the really key thing here is that if a lead does take longer than 5 minutes for any reason, then they need to tag you or your call center manager to let you know that this lead took longer than 5 minutes and give you a brief description why it took longer than 5 minutes. This works really, really well. The first reason is that if a lead takes longer than 5 minutes, they know they're going to have to tag you and the call center manager. It's like a snitching policy, right? It's like they know you're going to investigate it and they know you're going to look into it. So there better be a good reason to why it took longer than 5 minutes. As long as there's a good reason, they're not in trouble, right? There's no, like, they don't get in trouble for taking longer than 5 minutes, providing there's a good reason. But if they just write something like, oh, I missed this one, or oh, I wasn't on my computer at the time, or whatever the reason is, right? That's obviously not okay. And that's where we start to escalate it. And if it keeps happening, then obviously you got to take the required steps, as eventually you might need to remove them from the company if it's like a big problem that they're not understanding. The big no-no for this is that if a lead takes longer than 5 minutes and they don't tell you, right? If they don't tag you, that is, it's not instant dismissal in my company, but it is pretty close to it. Like, that's our number one rule. If any lead takes longer than 5 minutes, you must do that. The other cool thing here as well is that obviously we have that pain. So if a lead takes too long to be phoned, takes longer than 5 minutes, then the pain is they have to tell us, there's that awkwardness, that they might get in trouble, that kind of stuff, right? But then we also have a different system for encouraging them to phone leads as soon as possible. So if a lead is phoned within 60 seconds, right? We do this all through our reporting and the Google Sheets. If a lead is phoned within 60 seconds of them being generated, they actually get a 50-cent bonus, right? So they get $50 bonus for actually phoning that lead within 60 seconds. So now we've got this praise at the top, or like at the peak, and then we've got this punishment at the bottom. And so it really forces people to make sure they're always hitting that 60-second target. And if it even takes longer than 5 minutes, then they have the punishment. So this kind of combination gets setters phoning leads as soon as they come in, which is very, very effective. We also have this for other alerts, right? So appointment confirmation alert. So how we actually drive this information into the Slack channel, if I click into new lead alert, you'll see that at the very top, the trigger, there's a contact created. Right? So the contact's created. We then have if the first name exists, right? The reason why we have this is because obviously sometimes you're going to get random inbound calls from just spammers and cold callers and whatever else, right? So if there's no name associated with that number, I don't want it triggering the new lead alert. It's just going to clog up the new lead alert. It's not going to work. It's people just going to waste time phoning leads that aren't actually real, right? So the first thing we do, if first name exists, right? We then have this system called kill switch. So basically a kill switch tag is any lead that has the kill switch tag. Maybe the client's already handling it or something going on. We don't want any leads being phoned that have the kill switch tag. So we just double check to make sure there's no kill switch tag on this lead. And then we check to make sure the phone number exists, right? Again, we're phoning leads. So if you've got your Instagram set up, your Facebook set up, and you're getting inbound messages on them platforms, you're not gonna have a phone number associated with that lead. If you haven't got a phone number, then you can't phone them. So again, it's a waste of time. There's no point that information going into the Slack channel because you can't phone them anyway, right? What's the point? And then from there, we have a few of these like little trackers. We have like a speed to lead tracker. Again, the speed to leads all automated. We have it all in our reporting, which is really nice. And then we have update contact field SOP link. That's just like the SOP link for the contact. Don't worry too much about that right now. But the main thing is sending the notification to Slack. So we can either do this within GoHighLevel directly. GoHighLevel actually has like a Slack integration. You can literally send information directly from here into Slack. Personally, for me, I like to use make.com. I'll put the link for that down below as well. I like to use make.com because it separates it from GoHighLevel. As you're aware, probably GoHighLevel can sometimes have its little issues and little moments, especially when they're updating things. So I like to pull all that information via webhook into make.com, and then from make, I actually set it up, send the notifications into Slack, and that's where the team will see that and they can act on the lead. And we do the same thing for plenty of other alerts as well. For example, appointment confirmation alert, right? If you want to phone leads, let's say 24 hours before their appointment time and confirm they're still attending, help increase the sharp rate, right? Well, then from here, what we do, we have the appointment, right? Providing it's booked into the whatever calendar is for the call center, right? Or for your client. I just call it call center booking calendar, but you can do it, you call it whatever you want, whatever the client's main calendar is, right? When it's booked into that, again, we check for the kill switch, like I explained, and then we have this wait 24 hours before appointment, right? 24 hours before the appointment, again, it's going to send a notification to Slack to make sure that the team are seeing the appointment. So literally what will happen, same thing in Slack, you'll see an alert come through here as a message, and it will say appointment confirmation, right? So rather than saying new lead, it'll say appointment confirmation. That way, then the team know it's an appointment confirmation rather than a new lead. And again, they're going to adjust their script. They can use a different script for the appointment confirmations, and that's how they know the difference between them, right? So again, we send that notification to Make via webhook, and then from Make, we then send the information to Slack. Okay, again, the same thing for the callback alerts, right? So like I was saying earlier, if someone says, hey, give me a call back at 6 p.m. tomorrow, we have a whole callback system for that. And then same thing for missed call callbacks and SMS alerts. It's all in here. The missed call callbacks is if we receive a missed call from a lead. So if we're trying to phone a lead, they then phone us back, that's going to be a missed call. And so we want to call them back. So it's a missed call callback. And the SMS alert, we honestly use Closebot for all of our SMS stuff. So we don't really use this one anymore because Closebot does a really good job at responding to leads and actually booking them in. So the SMS alert was really before we used Closebot. The setters would get a notification inside of their Slack channel to actually reply to leads over text. But again, Closebot handles pretty much all of that now, so it's not really needed anymore. One thing I do want to quickly clarify about the Slack channels is that some agencies will ask me, hey, should I create a different watch shift for each of their clients? So if you've got 10 clients, you're going to have 10 different watch shift alert channels. Do not do this. The reason for that, if one client's getting the lion's share of the leads, then what will end up happening is that your one setter will just sit on that one channel for that one client and just phone all of their leads first. And that means all the other clients' leads are going to get left behind. When you have it all in one channel like this, it forces the setter to go through it in order, right? So if you've got a lead from client A, and then you've got a lead from client D, then a lead from client E or whatever, they're going to go in order in this channel. And that way then the speed to lead is consistent across all of your clients, rather than one client who's getting the most of the leads, just getting really good speed to lead, and all the other clients getting neglected. The key thing to scaling a successful call center is removing as much thinking as possible for the setters. That's how you can grow. That's how we work with Gym Launch with their 350 plus of their clients, all white label with 70 plus setters. And we were able to do this with these systems because people didn't have to think. They could just follow the process and it worked. So let's move to the next stage. So let's say a lead comes in, we double dial them, we try and call them, they can't get through to them, right? How do they get added to the power dialer? Well, we have this new lead in actions here, right? So the new lead comes in, we send them the texts, we do all the typical stuff, right? The normal things you should already be doing, right? Sending images, sending texts, that kind of stuff, right? We then add them to our SMS follow-up workflow, right? So we have a whole separate workflow separate to this, which is just the lead nurturing, which I'll go through in a bit, right? We then add them to the day 1 AM stage, and then we wait 1 hour. So the reason why we wait 1 hour is because I want to give my team a chance to put them in. So let's say speed to lead drops off a little bit and it takes them 15 minutes to call a lead. That shouldn't ever be happening. But let's say it does. I want to make sure that they have enough time to be able to speak to that lead and actually put them in for an appointment before they get added to the power dialer. So we wait 1 hour. We then add a day 1 AM tag, which I'll talk you through in a second. And then we add to the power dialer. We have a whole workflow just called power dialer. And again, I'll explain this in a second. That's how they're added to the power dialer, right? And that's how they're added to the day 1 AM stage inside the pipeline opportunities. So then from there, if I go to the power dialer system, what you'll see here is we've got different stages for each day. So we've got day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7. All of these have the exact same trigger. If I click into one of these now, you'll see the trigger is call status is outgoing, right? So if I go to here, click on call status, call direction, outgoing. So any outgoing call that is made, they'll be added to this workflow, right? And this is the same for all of them, right? It's the same trigger. So that means that all of these workflows, day 1 all the way to day 7, all 7 of these workflows that I was just showing you, quickly show you again, all 7 of these workflows will all trigger at the same time, regardless if it's in day 1, day 5, day 7, doesn't matter, right? They'll all trigger because they've all got the same trigger, which is call status outgoing, right? So if I go back into day 1 and show you how it works from here, then what we do is we have a call, we wait 6 minutes. That's just to make sure like other automations can run, other reporting automations can run. There's a few things that happen, right? We then check what tag does the lead have? Does the lead have the day 1 PM tag, right? If it doesn't have the day 1 PM tag, then we go down this route. It goes down to none, right? Then it checks to see, does it have the day 1 AM tag? If it does have the day 1 AM tag, because this lead, it's a brand new lead, so it will have the day 1 AM tag. If it's got the day 1 AM tag, then what it will do is it will go down this route, okay? It will remove the day 1 AM tag. It will add the day 1 PM tag. It will update the stage book contact field. Just a really quick side note here. We have a separate custom field called stage booked. And in this, we're tracking at what point the lead was booked in. Every time the lead goes through the power dialer and we're updating day 1 AM, day 1 PM or whatever it is, like we're following the path of that lead. Every time we update it and we move it to another stage, we're updating the stage book to be whatever the stage that is, right? If the lead is then booked in on that stage, we're able to get the appointment, right? Then we know they were booked in at day 1 PM. This is just really good for data because then you can start to see at what point are your leads actually being booked in. And you can understand, oh, maybe, for example, you'll see that most of your leads are actually booking in day 1, day 2, and day 3 to day 7, you're not getting any booked appointments. Well, then that can tell you maybe for your specific niche, it's not worth phoning for 7 days. Maybe you only want to phone for the first 2 or 3 days and then not phone after that because it's just a waste of time because you're not getting any booked appointments, right? That's very reasonable for a lot of niches, okay? And as you go down, it updates the opportunities from day 1 AM to day 1 PM. It then waits 3 hours and then it adds it to the power dialer, right? So this add to power dialer, again, it's the same thing. We're just adding it to the workflow called power dialer, right? The reason we have a wait 3 hours here is because if you just re-added them straight back to the power dialer instantly, that means the power dialer is never going to end. Because you've got the lead, you're phoning them, and as soon as you phone them, they're being re-added back to the power dialer at the bottom, and you're just going to keep, like, your power dialer will never end, and you'll end up phoning leads 100 times in one day, which obviously is not what we want. So we wait 3 hours because most of the time, your setter would have got through that client's power dialer within 3 hours. If they haven't got it within 3 hours, then that tells me that maybe you've got too many leads and you've got to have some other things and maybe you need more setters actually working on that account. But most of the time, the power dialer will be cleared easily within 3 hours, and therefore, the setter will actually finish the power dialer. They'll stop calling because there'll be no more leads left in it. And then later on, after 3 hours, that's when the lead will be re-added back in, ready for their PM shift or whatever the next shift is. So let's say this lead is on day 3 AM. Well, then remember, this whole workflow is still going to get triggered. So call status, right? Outgoing. They're going to go through here, but they've got the day 3 AM tag now, right? They've got day 3 AM tag. That means that this will be a no because it's checking for day 1 PM. So it hasn't got a day 1 PM tag. And then also it'll check for day 1 AM tag next. And it hasn't got a day 1 AM tag either. So it goes down none, because it's got a day 3 AM tag. So that means that 6 out of 7 of these workflows, right? Remember, all seven of these workflows are all going to trigger at the same time. But 6 out of 7 of them right, will not do anything. They'll just go none and none. So that means it won't affect anything, it won't do anything, right? Only the actual day which they're on will do anything. So if I look at the day 3 now, for example, remember, we're going to say this lead's got day 3 AM tag now. Call status, again, call direction outgoing. That will then check to see, has it got a day 3 PM tag? Again, this will be no, but it has got a day 3 AM tag, right? So that means all them other workflows, day 1, day 2, day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7, they'll all go through none, none. But because it's got a day 3 AM tag, it's now going to go here. It's going to remove the day 3 AM tag. It's going to add the day 3 PM tag. It's going to update the contact field to be day 3 PM, right? Because the next time we phone them, it will be day 3 PM now. And then it will update the opportunities, wait 3 hours, and then back to the power dialer. So then from there, what is this actual power dialer workflow? Well, this power dialer workflow, you can see at the bottom here. What this does is literally just a workflow that's got one action in it, which is add manual call to power dialer. It's got no trigger. All of these, every lead that enters this workflow is added through a different workflow. It's never added directly through here for this trigger. So what you don't want to do is have call status outgoing, for example, as the trigger, because then that means, again, you're going to be in a situation where the power dialer is going to be constantly running and it will never work. So you've got add manual call to power dialer, right? All this is literally just a manual call action. If I quickly show you, click on this, type in manual call, manual action to call. That's all this is. So then what that means then, if I add a lead to this, that's going to put them into the power dialer. So let me show you what I mean. So if I go to test workflow and I type in myself, my Aaron test, click run test. Oh, let me make sure it's published as well. Publish that, test workflow, Aaron test. Okay, great. So now when I refresh this, what you'll see is we have this little one sitting above here, right? That tells me there's one person in this action step now, right? This is essentially your power dialer for that account. So if I now come out of the workflows and I go to conversations and I go to manual actions, this is how you found this is where the power dialer sits, right? You'll see that conversations, manual actions, you'll see I've got Aaron testing this power dialer. So what your team will now do is every day, twice a day, they'll go into the account for each of your clients and they'll click let's start. When they click let's start, that is going to open up the power dialer. So then what your team have got to do is come into here. So then what your team have got to do is click let's start. When they click let's start, it's just going to phone that lead and it's going to start going through all the leads in this list and it'll pop up the contact page for each lead it's calling, like I was explaining before. And that's how you get through the power dialer and how you call the leads. So far we've covered how we're able to get leads phoned within 60 seconds and how we're able to automate those leads being called every day, twice a day for 7 days in a row, right? Now let me quickly talk you through the lead nurturing process. So what we do, go to automation, and then we have obviously the SMSs going out, right? So if I go to follow-up message sequences, you'll see we've got SMS follow-up workflow. This is the SMS follow-up workflow I was showing you before that we add the leads to when they first are generated, right? So we have everything in here. It keeps it super clean. It just makes it way easier than trying to have it in different workflows. So we wait 12 minutes, we send them an SMS. We wait 3 hours, send them an SMS. Wait 12 hours, send an SMS. 6 hours, SMS. 21 hours, SMS. With all this stuff, by the way, there's no perfect way of doing this, right? So a lot of people say to me, oh, what's the exact times I should send SMSs? Really, it depends on your niche, right? If you are targeting busy mums, right, then obviously texting them between the school times is probably the best thing because their kids are at school and they've got more free time. But try and text them in the morning before school or try and text them in the evenings, that's when it won't really work that well because they're not going to respond because they're busy with their kids or doing whatever they're doing, right? And so let's say you are targeting busy professionals. Well, then obviously text them between like 9 and 5 wouldn't really work because they're at their job, they're working, they're not going to see their texts, they're not going to see the phones. So you want to be phoning them and texting them outside of them hours, maybe in the evenings, right? So it really depends on your niche. And also the SMS and what to write as well. This is a whole other topic I don't want to go into right now, but just use your brain with it, right? Just think about what makes sense for your niche. One of the key things is that people don't respond to bots, right? What I mean by that, if you're sending really obviously automated SMSs, right? People aren't really going to respond to you. They might respond to you a little bit, but they're not going to respond to a big company that just sends them these like bulk texts that clearly aren't from a human being, right? What you want to make sure is that your SMSs look like they're actually being sent by a real human being, right? And that's where Closebot can come in and obviously can reply really well. So I'd even recommend making some mistakes inside the text and then correcting them with like the little asterisks, stuff like that, and breaking down the text. So making sure that the text messages, you don't just send one block of text, you actually send the smaller text. I'll create a whole new video for this in the future, like breaking down exactly what to say in text messages and stuff like that. But for now, use your brain with it, make sure it comes across really human. One other hack that we've been finding works really well, we'd like to send automated SMSs with the GoHighLevel number. We make them automated, we make it look like that maybe it's even not a real human, it's just some bulk thing, right? They don't get the best response rates, but we like to send them still just to make sure they're seeing us and they know who's calling them. But then also what we like to do to really get that human element is we use something called Link Blue. I'll put the link down below so you can book a call with them if you're interested. So what it does is it allows you to send iMessages directly inside GoHighLevel. So if I go to my real account here, when I go to follow-up message sequences, you've got this link iMessage follow-up, right? So again, this sends blue messages directly inside GoHighLevel, right? So we've got this send iMessage here. And what we do is we just to make it look way more personalized, right? Hey, it's Aaron from Call Center Mastery here. Want to shoot a message on my personal, totally fine if you're not ready to book yet. What's the biggest priority for you at the moment? More appointments or better sharps, right? So obviously remember, they're getting the automated messages, which can seem like they're from a human, or they can seem automated. It's not too much of a big deal. They can seem like they're automated. They can seem like they're maybe from a human, but they're coming from a green number, right? From the GoHighLevel number. Then all of a sudden they're going to get a personal message from me, right? From a different number, which comes up blue on their iPhones. So it looks like I've actually picked up my phone and sent them a real message from my number, right? Which is great. And then we can then send more iMessages. We can even send voice memos. We can send GIFs. We can do some really cool stuff. Obviously, with the iMessage stuff, you've got to be careful. You can't go crazy with it. You can't be spamming people. Otherwise, Apple will just block you, right? This is like a nice way to add that human touch in to try and get a better response rate if you're sending just automated messages on the green number. If you're only using the green number and you're not using Link Blue or anything or any other blue messaging software, right? Then just make sure that the green number doesn't come across super automated. Make sure the messages come across like they're from a real human. That's just get a way higher response rate. And like I was saying, if someone does reply to the messages, you want to make sure you've got Closebot set up to actually be able to have a conversation with them and put them directly into the GoHighLevel calendar. And that removes the burden of having to reply to SMSs from your appointment setters and makes them way more efficient. Now, let me talk you through our phone number setup, right? So with the phone numbers, what we like to do is we obviously want to have call recordings on, right? So if I go to here and I click edit configuration, you'll see that we've got call recording turned on. You can either have call recording messages selected, so you can have like a robot say, this call will be recorded for quality purposes. Like, don't do that. Obviously, that's horrible, right? If in your state or in your country or whatever the rules are, a lot of time you need to say that the call's being recorded. I would just get your setters to say that, right? So I wouldn't do this pre-recorded message. That's horrible. Have call recording turned on. You need to have that turned on so you can listen in and see how well your setters are performing, right? But what I wouldn't do is have the pre-recorded message. It doesn't work. So just get your setters after they've started their scripts. Just be like, oh, by the way, this call's being recorded, blah, blah, blah. That way then you stick to all the rules. You don't break any laws or anything, but you can still actually record the calls, which is really important. Now, if I go to the next tab, the call forwarding, the most important thing is the timeout, right? What we don't want happening is setters phoning up a lead, right? Letting it ring twice and then hanging up because they want to get to the next lead, right? The problem with that is obviously you're phoning leads and you're not giving them enough chance to answer the phone and they're not going to pick up. It's not very good, right? So what you can do is you set up a timeout. So you have a 60-second incoming call timeout and a 40-second outgoing call timeout, right? This is the most important one here. This means that after 40 seconds, the call will time out automatically. So what you do is you tell your setters, don't ever hang up the phone. Obviously, if it's a voicemail, leave a voicemail, but just let it ring until it cuts you off, and it'll cut them off after 40 seconds. That ensures there's enough time to make sure that the lead can actually answer the phone and have a conversation with your setter. And the cool thing about this is when you actually go to the contact page and you look at what happened to that lead, when you click this bit here and you click details, it will tell you what happened, right? So this one says failed, the number was fake, so when we tried to phone them, obviously it didn't go through, right? If when your setters are phoning leads, if it says cancelled here, that means the setter has hung up before the outbound call time has actually happened, right? So that means they didn't wait the 40 seconds and you know they phoned them, and then it means they cancelled the call before the lead had a chance to answer the phone, right? So what will happen is if they actually stuck to the rules, this will say timed out, right? It will say something like that, like timed out. GoHighLevel always updating what they call things. But if it says cancelled, that's where the setter didn't actually follow the rules and they didn't wait for it to time out, which is a really important thing to note. So now let's jump back to the phone number. When you go to advanced settings, call connect feature, I wouldn't turn that on. Whisper message, this is for if you're receiving inbound calls. The setter will be able to get a whisper message telling them which account the lead belongs to for the inbound call. Obviously, so they can use the correct script and stuff like that. And the other thing to mention here is verified caller IDs. So if you go to here and click add number, you can do a verified caller ID. If I click add verified caller ID, what this is you're able to connect your client's real business line into GoHighLevel, and that means every single time you make a phone call, it'll show up on the lead's handset as their number, right? This works really well to avoid spam likely. Because obviously, if you're buying a number from Twilio or Lead Connector, a lot of times numbers are marked as spam even before you've used them, right? Because they're just recycled numbers over and over agaan. So with this, let's say you're working with dental clinics, and there's a dental clinic that's been around for 20 years, they've had the same phone number, they've got really powerful reputation on that phone number. You want to make sure you can leverage that phone number because it will help with the pickup rates. So what you do is you jump on a Zoom call with your client, you would say to them, hey, what's the phone number we want to connect? You type in their phone number, you click verify phone number. What it will do is it will actually ring their phone. It will ring the phone number you just typed in, right? It will pop up on here with a code, and it will say to your client on the phone, what's the code that you want to enter? You give them the code on the Zoom call, right? Just tell them over Zoom. They'll then type that verification code into their phone, and that will then give you permission to use their phone number inside your GoHighLevel account. So then what you want to do is you want to go back to edit configuration, go to advanced settings, and here you can select the verified caller ID you just connected to make sure that whenever you're phoning leads from this number, it will actually come up as the number you just verified, which is really great for pickup rates, right? And obviously the other thing to increase pickup rate, go to Trust Center, and you want to make sure you've got your shake and stir, CNAM, all that stuff locked in and approved, right? This is basically you telling the carriers, hey, I'm not spamming people, I'm not a cold caller, I'm not whatever you are, right? Proving to them, and they'll then reduce the chance of your numbers appearing as spam likely. It's not guaranteed, but it'll do its best. A2P has nothing to do with calling, by the way. A2P is all for texting. Sometimes people will say to me, does A2P make a difference to the pickup rates of phone calls? They're a completely separate thing. A2P stands for application to person. When you want to send a text message from GoHighLevel to someone, well, GoHighLevel is an application and you're sending it to a person. So you have to get A2P approval to make sure you're not spamming people. This has nothing to do with phone calls. It does not affect pickup rate in any way whatsoever. And one quick thing to mention, Link Blue doesn't require A2P. So if you have a Link Blue number inside of your GoHighLevel account and you're sending text, there's no A2P approval. The way that works is that Apple basically trusts you from the offset, right? You don't have to prove anything, just buy the number from them. Apple will trust you until you do something that betrays their trust, and then they'll kick you off the platform. Where how A2P works is you've got to prove yourself in the first instance, you've got to gain their trust with all the verifications, then they'll let you send text. So it kind of works opposite, but that's why Link Blue has no A2P. You can just send text straight away, which works nicely. The other software I like to use is something called First Orion to really help with pickup rates. What this does is got two things. The first thing is you can actually brand the calls for your clients, right? So when you're making phone calls on behalf of your clients, you can put the client's logo and the client's company name on the actual handset when it phones the lead, right? Obviously that massively increases pickup rates. The second thing it does is First Orion has direct contact with all the carriers, and they will tell the carriers every single day, if there's any spam tags, hey, remove this number from your spam flags. The reason why is because we've already vetted them, we know them. First Orion's already done a bunch of stuff on your numbers, they already know everything about you. And when you're making loads of phone calls and the carriers maybe start marking you as spam, they will tell the carriers every day, hey, remove all the spam tags. It's not 100%, but it's like, from what we've seen, it's like 99% accurate, and it works very, very well. One annoying thing about First Orion is they don't actually work with agency owners directly. What would happen is you have to create a different account for each of your clients, all with different logins and stuff, and each of your clients have to basically connect there. It's a really messy situation. What I've been able to do is partner with them, because obviously I've got a bunch of agencies in call center mastery who need to use this, and also you guys if you're an agency owner. So what I've done is I partnered with them. Had to go through a bunch of hoops, had to get pre-vetted by them. It's like a whole fiasco I had to do. But what this means now is that you can create an agency account underneath them, and that allows you to have multiple numbers, multiple clients all in one account. And also they give you a lower rate because you're a part of my partnership essentially. So if you're interested in this, I'll put a link down below. It's 6 cents per dial to use this. So it's not 6 cents per minute or anything like that. It's every time that number appears, it's $0.06, right? So 6 cents per dial. So every time that number appears. So if you phone them up and you're on the phone for 10 minutes, it'll cost you 6 cents. If you phone them up and they don't answer, it'll cost you 6 cents, right? Because it's every time that appears on the lead's handset with the branding, that's when they'll charge you. So if you're interested in that, I'll put the link down below. You can register and you can use that for your clients and basically get way higher pickup rates at a lower cost than if you try to do it on your own, having to try and build it all out on all the different accounts. It's a mess. So yeah, I'll put the link down below for that if you're interested. The other quick thing you can do now as well, if you don't want to register for First Orion, is something called the free caller registry. So this is basically a free service by First Orion and a few other ones. It's got Hire and TNS as well. And you can basically register your numbers in here. It's not the best system in the world, but again, you're registering your numbers. You're explaining to them, hey, I'm not a spammer. And this again will help reduce the spam likely tags on your numbers. So the next thing here is the reporting. So we have all of our reporting being pulled directly from GoHighLevel into Google Sheets. And then from there, we have all the automated formulas and everything. It's all pretty. And that goes into a Google Data Studio where we have all the data in there with dashboards and graphs and tables. It's a really cool system. It's all automated as well, which is great, right? And we do all this through the reporting stuff here. So every time there's an all dial, every time there's an appointment, every time there's a new lead and a no-show, a show, a speed, like whatever it is, like we track all that data and we push it into Google Sheets, right? I'm not gonna go into that now because that's a whole other beast. But if you wanna just get some quick reporting for you guys now inside the GoHighLevel system, because this whole video is just about the GoHighLevel system, you wanna go to reporting here, click on call report, and here you can actually see all the outgoing calls made. So again, this is a snapshot account, so there's no calls being shown here because obviously we're not calling from the snapshot account, but you can change the times. You can see how many calls are made. It will tell you which setters, so say which agents actually made the calls. It will tell you the total calls, average duration. You can actually see the call recordings down here as well, which is really, really nice. What I would be careful of is that GoHighLevel has a hard time of understanding what's a voicemail and what's an answer call and what's an actual conversation, right? So what we like to track is dials being made, pickups, conversations and appointments, and obviously shows beyond that, right? So what you do is go to filters and you can select the duration, right? So rather than GoHighLevel being the one that tells you, is it a pickup, is it a conversation, is it a voicemail, which it can't do very well. It doesn't tell you conversations and pickups at all, but just especially for that voicemail thing, a lot of the time, GoHighLevel will think an answer call is actually a voicemail and vice versa. It kind of gets a bit messy. So what we like to do is use a minimum duration. So what we'll do is here, we'll put 40 seconds minimum duration and we'll run that as a filter. That will tell you the number of calls that you've had that are 40 seconds or more, right? I consider a pickup to be 40 seconds. Most voicemails don't last longer than 40 seconds. And so that's just a good sweet spot we found. So any call that lasts longer than 40 seconds, I'm considering that as someone actually picked up the phone and said something, right? That's considered a pickup to me. Then what we'll do is we'll look at duration, but we'll put 120 seconds. 120 seconds is 2 minutes, which then that's what I see as a conversation. So then we can track the amount of dials we've had, the amount of pickups we've had, and the amount of conversations we had. It's really important to break that data down so you can identify the bottlenecks in that whole process. Because for example, if you see that you've got a bunch of leads and no booked appointments, you don't know where the breakdown is. Is it because the script's bad, which will tell you the conversation to appointment booking, that will tell you if the script's bad, right? Is it because the number's being marked as spam? Well, that's how you know that all dials to pickups, right? If that number's dropped, then you know potentially that's a phone number and a spam likely issue, right? So you want to make sure you have the really clear breakdown of the number of dials, the pickups, the conversations, and the booked appointments. Then you can identify what the drop-off is of each of them, and then you can actually start to understand where is the bottleneck and what do you need to improve. Is it the spam likely? Is it the scripting? Is it even the opener, right? For example, if you see that your pickup rate is really high, right? You're getting loads of pickups, but the conversation rate's really low, or maybe the opening of your script isn't good enough. So people are just like, oh, I'm not interested, and hang up, right? So making sure you have that data really broken down is very, very important to getting a really high quality call center locked in and getting the best results for your clients. And if you followed along, your setters now have zero excuses to getting more booked appointments. Like I said, if you want access to any of the tools I spoke about or the snapshot, I'll put all the links down below. And if you want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.